Hello and welcome to the Bikes or Death podcast. My name is Patrick and I'm your host. This is the show that talks about bikepacking, adventuring, and the cool people who participate. On this episode, I sat down with Thomas Adams, who is mainly a gravel cyclist. I'm kind of releasing this as a special Dirty Kanza episode. So Dirty Kanza was just this past weekend, and Thomas has a very special relationship with that race. I don't want to give too much away. I want him to be able to tell his story. But I will tell you that 3 very significant life events happened for him at Dirty Kanza. Going into the interview, I was only aware of 2 of them, but I found out about number 3 on the podcast, and so will you. So this was an interesting interview for me. I happened to be up in the Northwest Arkansas area on a family trip. And of course I was trying to pack in some podcasts as well. And, I did, interview Hal Russell while I was there, and I'm really looking forward to releasing that one. But I also, in the back of my mind, really wanted to interview Thomas, just because of his relationship with the Dirty Kanza, and the fact that it just was this weekend, like all the stars kind of aligned, and it really made sense that he and I talk. But I didn't really tell him about that. I'd kind of teased the idea to him about recording a podcast, but we never really set anything up official. So I went over to his house, and we were just kind of hanging out, and I kind of brought up the podcast, and he was willing to chat. So it was very, very impromptu. I probably didn't prepare at all. I mean, I had like an idea of what I was going to talk about in my head, but didn't go in with any show notes or anything like that. And we were a couple of glasses of whiskey into the night already. So that's kind of where it picks up. So, anyway, just keep that in mind as you're listening. But Thomas's story is truly remarkable. I mean, if you look at what he was able to accomplish, it's mind blowing. Like, I still don't really understand it. I don't even think he fully understands it. At one point in the interview, he's like, "Wow, that was me," kind of deal. So, but a real quick note on his episode. He got a couple of the dates wrong. So just for clarification, he built his first bike in 2014. And by the way, it's a fixie. So he just got into riding, decided to start with a fixie. I'll just leave that there. And then in 2015, he entered his first race, which was the Monka Chonka Bonka. So, anyway, that's it for just tidying up a few little errors. But like I said, a couple glasses of whiskey in, so, it happens. And the other thing is, with this episode, the audio quality wasn't as great as I would like. My apologies. Whenever you're on the road and you're setting up a mobile studio and you never know where you're going to be, inside or outside or at a bar or in somebody's garage, or, there's just so many different environments, and good audio quality is really important to me, and I strive really hard for that. But even more important than that for me is good conversation, a good quality of content. And so for me, I feel like that makes up for some poor audio quality, and I hope you agree. All right. One other note for Dirty Kanza is our friend Lael Wilcox, that was just on the episode last time, won the DKXL. She was the top overall female. So shout out to Lael. Another awesome performance. And next up, she's headed to Banff to race the Tour Divide. And she's looking to take down the overall record, not just women, but the record. So, looking forward to see how she does on that. On the Patreon front, I just have to say thank you. I've received like a lot of new patrons in the last week. I calculate that I'm spending about 20 to 30 hours a week right now, recording, interviewing, editing, promoting. I have a lot of ideas percolating. that I'm not ready to share yet, but all those things that I'm working on take time. And that doesn't even account for, traveling to go meet guests and all that kind of stuff. So, those contributions help a lot. They help me justify all the time that I spend on the show, and I absolutely love it, but it takes away from work and family and all that kind of stuff. And so, anyway, thank you to all the patrons. If you're interested in supporting the show and you like the content on here, then I encourage you to please go over to Patreon. You can find me there at Bikes or Death. Another area that I've been very grateful is on the iTunes reviews. Man, I've received such great feedback on there. Everybody's giving it 5 stars, and I'd really like to keep that up. So please head over there and leave a 5-star review and leave a note if you want to. I read them. I care. They make me feel good, and they help people find the show, which is what I'm really trying to do. I want to spread the word about bike packing, conservation, outdoors, all the things we love, so the more people that hear this show, the more we're going to be able to spread that information and put it out in the world. All right, guys, that's it. Let's get to the show. All right, I am sitting here tonight with Thomas Adams. You may know him on Instagram as the Chaco Bandit.
Yep.
Or at Maker and Racer. So we're sitting in your shop right now. We're sitting where you create all of your masterpieces.
Yep.
Yeah, it's pretty sweet, man. I've been following your Instagram for a long time, and it's actually one of my favorites to follow along because you I'm true. I mean, I love woodworking, I'm definitely maybe when I retire one day, and I have a lot of time on my hand and I can afford the time to fuck up a lot of furniture and eventually get it right.
That's how it is right now.
I don't think so.
It's arts and crafts for grown-ups.
I don't know, man. Your arts and crafts are at a level that mine, there's a big gap between where I'm at and where you're at. But anyway, I mean, it's pretty cool to actually be sitting in the shop where you make all your pieces of furniture. All right. So before I actually do want to talk about Maker and Racer, but let's talk about you and bikes first. So
okay,
just basic rundown. When did you get into riding and how and why or?
Okay, I think I started riding bikes either in I started buying parts rather in late 2013. I would go into District Bicycles to see Bobby, and I would just drop $100 or $200 here, and I was just trying to build up this frame that I had. It was a blue Chaparral. It's actually downstairs right now. It's all bent and broken. I got hit by a car. It was,
oh my gosh.
Yeah, it was my first fixie. So I would go in and buy just parts whenever I could. And then eventually we built this thing up into like a fixed gear gravel bike. Yep. And that, I mean, after I got hit by that car, we just pulled all of those parts off and put it on a Surly steamroller.
So why fixie?
Oh man.
You were just getting into it in 2013 and you went straight fixie?
Yeah. That was my first form of riding bikes.
You went into District and they were like, yeah, you need a fixie.
This is what you need. No, I don't know. I don't know what they thought. I know that nobody else was doing that.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's kind of unheard of, really. Like, I didn't know anybody that was doing that. And then I had heard of this race called the Trans Iowa, and I knew that this is what started it all. Was like I heard of Trans Iowa, and I mean, I still have yet to do it. I still, after riding like 200 miles, looking at 350, knowing, like having the experience that I have is like, man, that's a long way.
Yeah, but you were on a fixie.
Yeah, I don't know.
You don't know why you decided to go fixie?
Well, I had my buddy had a bike. It was just this old crappy one that I bought off of him. That was my first fixie. You know, it was like a street fixie. I painted it, like spray paint, rattle canned it. And then after that, whenever I could buy like real parts and get a real bike, you know, I made this like nice version of that bike. And, then I put like big knobby tires on it. And, everybody in Stillwater was like really into the gravel scene. So I didn't know a ton of people. I moved to Stillwater with knowing like a handful of people. You know, I went to school for a little bit, but
Where'd you move from? Iowa or?
Well, I lived in Durant, Oklahoma for the longest time. I grew up there.
Okay, so
graduated from high school there. Went to college there for a year. Played tennis there. I had a girlfriend at the time, and then I moved to Colorado for like 6 months, and that
good move.
Yeah, that was a great move for an 18-year-old. So I moved back and chose Stillwater instead of Durant because I knew people there, and I didn't want to be in my hometown. Yeah, and so I started to get into the gravel scene a little bit.
That's crazy. When did you have your first geared bike?
Couple months ago.
No way.
Yeah. I don't know if that's true. You know, I had a Surly Krampus. Like that was I didn't start riding mountain bikes until I met Gabby, and Gabby's family is like really into riding mountain bikes. And so I bought this Krampus that I thought would be like my bike packing mountain bike. And that's what I learned to mountain bike on. It was this really heavy, mid-fat, rigid bike. So, I guess that would be my first geared bike, but I didn't ride it for like long distance.
Yeah. Okay.
I've always ridden single speed fixed gear for like 3 years on gravel. Yeah.
I can't even imagine. Like that's usually something that people do, you know, they get into the sport, they have all the easy equipment that like helps them get into it. And then eventually they go single speed. And then if they're really crazy, they go fixie. And you were just like, fuck all that. I'm just going to go fixie.
I don't know if I really like knew a whole lot about bike culture. It was all super new to me.
Yeah. Why did you even decide to pick it up at all?
That is a great question. You know, my first group gravel ride, it was a like drop race ride, which eventually became a ride that I took over. It was turned into Wednesday Night Worlds. It was like a race for 25 miles every Wednesday. And I ended up getting lost. I didn't have the right gear. I used to wear Vans and like toe straps out on the gravel, you know, and that was like my way of stopping the bike. Like I didn't have a brake on my bike. So.
Of course not.
Yeah, man.
No gears, hardcore. No bikes, or brakes, like what else?
Well, I rode back to town after that, and I think I had just turned 21, so we all met up at the bar after that and just kind of talked and shoot the shit. And,
right.
Yeah.
So when did you like get interested in racing, and what was your first event?
My first event was this crazy race up in, I want to say it was Manhattan, Kansas. It was called the Monka Chunka Bonka. Yeah, crazy name. And it was the craziest thing ever, you know? So it was a 100-mile gravel race. I brought my fixie, and that night it snowed so hard, and we woke up to like 20 degrees and like a ton of snow. And so they shortened this course to we were going to do they had a 25-mile part of that event, so they changed it to 4 25-mile loops as to not like keep us out in the middle of nowhere and like,
right.
I don't know. So it was a little bit more safe that way, a little bit more.
Yeah.
And so, we ended up doing, 2 laps, and I came in on the, after the 50, and they they had called the race, because it was just snowing the whole time. It was snowing so hard, and my water bottles froze, my goos froze, my shot blocks froze. I'd never seen anything like that. I've never ridden in that.
I haven't either. That's pretty wild.
I borrowed thermal bibs. I had jackets on. I was like brand new. If you had seen me out there,
like an Eskimo, man.
Yeah, all of that, and you'd be like, why is this kid wearing Vans and like no shoe covers?
Right.
It was, oh man, it was actually crazy. That was,
I love it because sometimes those guys are terrible, but also sometimes they're like really good, and they'll put you to shame, like not wearing the right equipment or not having the right bike, and they just kick your ass. And
I think that's kind of what kept me going. It was like it was almost like a pride thing for sure, being like, you have all of these sponsors and all of this help, and I'm like doing this on this most basic machine, and like I'll keep up with you. Like, I'll try to shred your face off, and you will probably beat me, but I'm not gonna give up.
I'm gonna make it hard for you though. That's seriously impressive. So I know that I know a little bit of your story, and you like got really intensely into like racing. When did that happen? Like so that was, man, I want to say 2014 was the first year that I started really racing. And so Mancachanka started that off, and I had this whole series that I was doing. It's called the Bone Shaker series. And there was like 5 races, and I was trying to win the single speed category because they built up points over each race. And so I was trying to add up all those. Sure.
I don't know. I'd never done it before. So that to me was like, oh, there's like a circuit. Like I want to be a part of that. That's cool.
Yeah.
So then it kind of led into land run.
How many single speeders were in that series, the Bone Chiller?
It was pretty small. It was more of like a regional series. Like people from Kansas would come, Oklahoma, Texas even. But most of the races were all in Kansas, and they kind of all led up to the Dirty Kanza.
Okay.
So they were like kind of sprinkled around Land Run and Dirty Kanza. They were kind of like they were still races, but they were more of like training races.
Sure.
So you probably had 100, 200 people in each race.
Right.
So you got to know everybody that you're racing with pretty well.
Cool.
Then really, I think Land Run did it. I was so nervous. I lined up. I had
what year?
2014.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so I lined up.
So you've been riding bikes for 1 year at this point.
Not even really.
Even a year.
Yeah, I started probably that fall. It was probably September, October. I started riding.
All right. So
getting
less
ready
than
for
a
Land
year
Run.
And you're at Land Run.
Yeah, man. I was so nervous. I had just started clipping in to my fixie too, probably like 2 weeks before Land Run.
Yeah.
No brakes on the bike. And I lined up. I had broken my elbow a year before that, riding my Razor scooter around. Just like
I'll leave
out.
That one.
Yeah,
I'll let you have that one.
And so I was like wearing this like weird. I don't know what company makes it, but I had an elbow guard on because I was so worried about crashing and like re-breaking my arm. And so I lined up for Land Run. I had this goofy outfit on, like I'm like a damn stormtrooper or something, ready to go in. And I just remember lining up, and it was raining so hard that Friday night before the race. And the next day, it was carnage everywhere. Like derailleurs were breaking, people were getting stuck in the mud. And I remember like my bike being fine because I didn't have brakes. I didn't have gears, like it was just like, okay, I'm riding through this, and it just felt like a little bit more of a gradient that I'm riding up. I have mud like coming through my bike, but I mean, it's a steel bike with a steel fork. Like it was fine. I remember going through this crossing and Bobby Wendell being like, "Oh, like Thomas, you're top 25."
Whoa.
And I remember that sticking out of my head, being like, "Holy shit!" Like I'm like what? So after that,
Start
like,
pedaling a little
yeah,
faster.
the rest of the day, dude, I just like left it out there. And I remember.
Do you remember what mileage that was out at whenever you saw him?
Maybe 20.
So it's pretty early on.
Yeah, pretty early. It's,
Yeah.
I mean, 100-mile race, but I remember getting to the halfway point, and I stayed there for probably 15 minutes or more. I took my shoes off, my socks off, and looking back on it, I'm like, this is part of that pride thing. I'm like, damn it, I could have won. And it's like, I mean, that doesn't matter, but
you're not there to lose.
Well, I don't know. It was my first like real race. That was the first time I'd never ridden over.
You didn't go
miles.
there to win.
Yeah, and I
you
just
went
wanted
there
to
to
see what I could do. Yeah,
I get that.
Yeah. So I
did you lose? How much did you miss the leader by? Do you remember?
I came in third place that year.
Oh my gosh! I jumped ahead.
I don't know. I know Scott O'Mara won that year. He's a big Kansas guy. He's from Emporia.
Yeah.
They're big long distance they bike pack all the time now.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so he won that year. Second place I don't remember who got second place that year. I remember.
So you got third place overall, and you were on a fixie?
Third single speed.
Third single speed.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Sweet. Yeah, I mean that's really good for your first one, and you've only been riding for less than a year at this point.
Yeah.
I'm still trying to process all of that. All right, so then what?
Let's see. 2015, I started trying to race again. I picked everything up. I did some of the Bone Shaker series again. Still on the fixie. 2015, I did land run again. I got third single speed again. I actually had a sprint finish with the guy that got second.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I caught up to him at one of the lights, like in town.
Oh my gosh.
Jason Irwin was so mad. And we just like looked at each other and we were like, fuck shit. Like, this is what we have to do. It's like just part of racing. And
sometimes you got to gut it all the way out.
Yeah. And he got me at the last corner, and I couldn't, I got up to the finish line, and we talked about it and hugged it out. And it's definitely one of those memories that I won't forget. I was like skidding into the finish line. Oh man.
That's sweet.
It's
cool to be in the mix, man. It's cool to be in a sprint finish, for something that matters.
Right. Right. Yeah. I mean, and that was like totally new to me, but Jason and I had raced part of the Bone Shaker series together. So like we kind of knew who the other was, but we never really like talked or like.
The guys that you're coming in third to, these first and second place guys, are they like professional or sponsored riders?
So that year, just for reference, the guy that won single speed in 2015, he just finished the DKXL today, and his name's Andrew Strimke. He got fourth place, I believe, today. Overall in the DKXL. So wow. He has been one of my rivals for like, as soon as I met him, I'm like, dude, I just want to beat you. Like, that was my goal.
Mm-hmm.
I want to beat you. And every race that I went to, Andrew beat me. And I was just like, man, like, this guy just always shows up. Like, he's always so strong, Wow. And now he like comes over and we'll go like ride trail. Like one time last year, me and Gabby went to Arkansas just to meet him and Katie to go ride trail,
Yeah.
But yeah, he is probably semi-professional. He works at Garmin. I wouldn't say anybody else is like real like, pro. I mean, if you're in single speed, then it's kind of like, I don't know, it's a little bit more chill. Those people aren't like super ultra pro.
Yeah, I gotcha.
Yeah.
They're out there more just to push themselves and see how far they can go, how fast they can go on less.
I think so.
Yeah. Well, at least from your perspective, right? So you brought up the DKXL. So today is June 1st, and we've kind of been leading up to this, but I really wanted to talk to you today because like today is the anniversary of like two fairly significant life events for you, to put it mildly, I think. So the DK in 2016 was your first.
Well, I think I attempted it in 2015 on the fixie as well.
Okay.
And I had a chain break, but I was in a pretty flat area. My chain size was 1/8, so it's pretty thick, and I didn't have an extra link with me. I actually thought about it before I started the race, and I was like, I don't need that. I have a brand new chain. Like, my chain's not going to break. Why would it break, you know? And, I mean, it broke. And it was one of those things that, you know, that's just part of endurance races and being prepared, and I was not prepared.
You learn from it, you move on, man. What else can you do?
That's right. Yep. Yeah, and in 2016 is whenever everything changed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what happened?
Well, I went
First,
back.
Yeah, I'm curious like what your mindset was going into 2016, having come off 2015 with a bummer. Like, what was your mindset going into it? Were you like trying to win? Were you
I just wanted to set the fixed gear record.
fix your record?
Yep. I kind of had an idea of what it was. This guy Chatham had the record, and it was on record, you know, because he had set it the year before, and I was like, okay, well, that's my time to beat. Like, I think I can beat it. And he had posted it on Facebook. He said, whoever beats my fixed gear record, I will buy them like a 6-pack of beer, you know. And I was like,
yeah,
okay,
I want that.
Somebody tagged me in it, and I was like, oh yeah, I can do that. And yeah, that morning, all nerves, you know, like it is before a race. And I ended up riding with Bobby Winnell and Seth Wood out of District Bikes. Made it through the first checkpoint. That's actually where my like only picture is me coming into the first checkpoint, and I look pretty throttled, but I don't know, I'm going, and got out of the first checkpoint. I got to this place called Texaco Hill. It's mile 66. And actually, Seth Wood told me later that he looked down at his Garmin at the time and it said 66.6. So take that how you will. And yeah, it's this crazy descent, really rocky. And I mean, it's the Flint Hills. So, I mean, it's Flint rock. It's really sharp. And I had been keeping up. I had just been trying to keep up with Bobby and Seth. You know, I wanted to ride with them, and I definitely wanted to beat them. You know, I mean,
were they on geared?
Yeah,
bikes?
they were riding their cutthroats, and
Okay.
actually they were getting ready for the Tour Divide.
Cool.
So they were riding that, and then they were straight from the DK. They were headed up to Banff to leave for the
That's
tour.
awesome.
So yeah, I was riding with them. You know, I'm sure they weren't going like super hard. I definitely was, because I wanted to beat that record. And yeah, I came over this hill, or what I think is, it's either right next to Texaco Hill or it's the descent is Texaco Hill. But yeah, I started to try to slow down, and I mean, to slow down on a fixie with no brakes, you know, you kind of have to like lock your legs, and that locks the chain, and it puts a lot of tension on the chain.
Okay, how does that work? I wanted to ask you, like, how do you stop without brakes? I don't understand.
So I had been having some knee issues stopping. So you're kind of pedaling, you know, and I'm right foot dominant. Okay. So with my right leg forward, I would kind of pull up. When you're clipped in, you know, you can kind of pull up and push down with your left, depending on what you're dominant with. And that's how I would stop. But after a while,
it just takes a long time to slow down.
It takes longer than like actual brakes.
Right.
So, you know, you can like kind of pump it, and that's what I would do. Is I could hop a little bit. So if you hop and do that at the same time, you actually slow down a little bit faster.
So you hop, do that when your tires are suspended in air, so they come to a full stop.
Yep.
And then you hit, and the tires are stopped. So
Yep.
okay.
So I think well, what I know happened was I did that and my chain broke. And so I'm going downhill, I don't know, upwards of 35 miles an hour. And I'm trying to stop. I can't stop. And I tried to make myself stop. You know, you're just not thinking whenever that happens. You know, like I was like, I mean, obviously you put your foot in the rear tire, and I think I woke up with like a bloody toe, so I think I probably put it in the front wheel. Yeah, and so I don't remember what happened. You know, I just remember waking up. And yeah, Seth was pulled over at the time. I think he was either messing with a flat or he was like eating, or I don't know. He was right there and witnessed it all. And he said that I flipped over the bars. I got up and tried to like pick my bike up or pick myself up, and then I just collapsed.
Oh my gosh.
So like I don't know. I just remember waking up.
Dude, that's crazy. Your body, like your mind was gone or whatever, like you don't, but your body, you had trained it to be like, this is what we're doing. We're riding Dirty Kanza, Dirty Kanza. And you crash, you have a concussion, and like your body just keeps trying to go.
Yeah, man, it was crazy. I woke up and I was just surrounded by people, and my brain felt like scrambled eggs, if that makes sense. Like I could not form, like I could think, you know, I kind of like I had some cognitive ability, but I couldn't talk. I couldn't like, I just couldn't do much of anything. I could look around, you know, and I felt like my eyes were like rolling around, and this guy was like holding my head and telling me not to move. And just like, I was like, well, I started reaching for my mouth, you know, cause I felt a tooth, and I was like, well, I gotta get this tooth out, you know, so I can keep racing. I gotta get up and like, I'm okay. I'm fine. You know, like I'll just brush it off. Like wrecks happen, you know, I'll just get up and keep going. But yeah, he was like, don't move. And then he like kind of like did a finger swab of my mouth, pulled out this tooth and like threw it into this field. And,
which one is it? I'm trying to see if I can.
It's like down in.
It's one of those.
Yeah.
It's a fake.
Oh, they sewed my jaw blank together.
Okay.
Yeah, my whole bottom palate was shifted.
Your bottom jaw like came separated.
Yeah, I broke in 3 places. I broke it on each side of the jaw, and then like it split down the middle. So what sounds like it happened was I flipped over the bars, hit chin first on solid flint, and tried to brush it off, and then collapsed.
Typical.
It's just flesh wound.
Yeah. I think it was a little bit more than that. All right, so then what happened? When did you die?
Oh man, so that is debatable. You know, I just remember being really warm, being really at ease, and man, just like being okay with it. And I don't know, all of a sudden I just started not being okay with it, and just being like, I don't know, like fighting a little bit. Sorry.
That's all right.
It's strong memory. And maybe a little bit of whiskey, but no,
we can blame it on the whiskey.
I don't know, man. I just remember just waking up, you know, and there were a lot of people around, like a lot of people just, I mean, Bobby was there and Seth was there, and thankfully one of the guys that was holding my head, you know, Schmitty was he's a doctor, or I don't know if he's a surgeon or a doctor, but I mean, that falls in medical practitioner. But
he had some understanding that you need to be stabilized.
Yeah, I need to not move my head and not reach for my teeth. So yeah, you know, I don't know how to explain that. It's just definitely what's NDE, like a near-death experience.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Just feeling weightless and like feeling. I can't really describe it.
I can't imagine that you would. I mean, yeah.
It's weird.
Like, how do you? Yeah. And even
really
that you've experienced it, it's like, I bet that you're still trying to quantify what happened. Like, I had an experience that happened to me when I was 21, and I went. So I grew up in Texas, but like never went to the beach. Like, never went to the beach. And at 21, like, I finally go to the beach, and I'm like, all right, I'm going to swim way out there where the waves are breaking, like, hundreds of yards into the ocean. And I get out there, and all of a sudden, like, the waves start crashing on me and then sucking me down.
To spin you.
Yeah. I mean, I got caught in a wash machine, and I remember being very cognitive of like what was happening. I was like, I'm fucked, and like it just kept beating me down. I was swimming as hard as I could. And eventually, like, I remember just like, okay, the back of this wave is the last thing I'm ever going to see. Like, I gave up, like I just didn't have any more, and I got sucked under. And like, I don't know what happened. To this day, I still can't figure it out. All I know is that I was way out on the shore, or way out in the sea or ocean or whatever. And like, next thing I know, I'm walking in like calf high water up to the beach, and my girlfriend was sitting there sunbathing the whole time, and like watched the whole thing happen. And I got back to the beach, and I started, like, I was hyperventilating, and I was like throwing up, and like,
I mean,
was,
when
like,
freaking
out,
right? Yeah. That's so apparently my body like reset, right? Like, I hit so hard that I started having seizures. Like, I hit so hard that my body just, like, I threw up. They said I threw up, and they had me on my side, and I don't remember any of that. But
do they tell you how lucky you are to be alive? You always see in like TV shows like, oh, you had a 10% chance or whatever.
I guess Gabby got this phone call while I was out there. She was my sport that year, and she got this call from Bobby, and the first thing that he said was, Thomas is like breathing. He's okay, but he's breathing. So
he's not okay, but he's breathing.
Yeah, I was probably out for like 5 or 10 minutes.
It's not good when they're like, he's breathing.
Yeah,
like that's like the positive thing you can say.
Yeah, wow. I'm like shaking right now.
Well, okay, so you obviously got rocked about as hard as you can get rocked.
Yeah, like,
and
Mike Tyson, Muhammad Ali, like punching you
at the same time, 9 rounds. You come out. You're here right now. You're okay as far as I can tell. Your face is pretty much put back together.
Sure.
Yeah, what was recovery like? What was life like for you? Like, you woke, or you're in the hospital. Like, what was your life like after that?
So I got metaflighted out of the course. They picked me up in a helicopter, took me to Wichita. I was awake for all of it. I even remember them putting me in the MRI machine and asking me my phone number, and I mistaked it with my social security number. And I was like, no, wait, that's my social security number. Like, I remember that. Like, I was able to distinguish between the two. Yeah. But I have some pretty major back pain every day still. My jaw hurts occasionally.
Well, okay, I don't think we even talked about like what happened to you other than you broke your jaw in 3 places. So maybe we should just start like with, what was the damage from that crash?
Well, the jaw, my back, just like right in between my shoulder blades, took a lot of it. Like I scorpioned over the bike. Like I hit the ground and just crumpled the wrong way.
Your feet came over your back and hit in front of your head.
Yep.
Oh,
I have some scars, some pretty major scars on my knees. They thought that I like scarred it or I dug it to the bone,
right.
So they were actually like really worried about it, and they were looking at my knees and stuff, and I was like, no, that's not the issue here. You know, like I can't fucking eat. You know, like I can't even really talk to you. Like I was kind of just like this weird, like predator looking guy. Like it's just like,
Did that bother you?
A little, you know, I was worried about my pretty face, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, I just remember coming home and being like super swollen and be like, man, like, I don't know if I'll ever look the same again.
Yeah, dude,
Not
that's
that
gonna
I,
be crazy.
am
Like you didn't know what you were gonna look like on the other
right.
side.
Yeah, I just remember looking in the mirror and being like, man, like I'm really fucked up.
Yeah, I saw the pictures on your Instagram. You know, I mean, I don't know if those were pretty raw. I mean, they were in the hospital. You're in the bed.
Yeah,
they're pretty graphic images. Like
Yeah.
your face was totally rocked.
sausage.
Yeah, dude, I wouldn't even. Yeah, you don't think? I mean, it's not a vain thing. It's just like, dude, I'm used to 20 whatever years, like waking up and looking at the same face, and then like you don't know if you're gonna like what face you're gonna wake up and see or
Sure.
whatever.
I mean, I have scarring and stuff.
Dude, your face looks. Dude, you're hot. No, I mean, honestly, like, there's no way anyone just looking at you could tell that you had your
the
face.
Skarsgård character. I'm like Bradley Pitts.
That's right. Pitts or Pitt? Pitts is his, like, brother that nobody talks about or something.
Yeah, I think, I mean, that's it. I roll my back out like every day. If I'm standing for too long, like working on a project or something, you know, I have to take breaks a lot just to go inside and roll it out, and it pops like crazy. Like,
does it bother you to ride?
Actually, no.
That's awesome.
You know, I think with my arms suspended like that, like it's almost like a kind of like a push-up position, just being on like that type of bar, and it really, it's not as bad as you might think.
Right on.
You know, it actually feels more comfortable for me to ride than to do anything like
That was
day
your
to day.
gift. That was your gift from like going through all that. You're like, well, at least I can still ride. Hey, well, that's like, okay. How long did it take to recover until like you were riding your bike again? And what was that first ride like? Were you like scared shitless or?
I was scared. I was terrified.
Yeah.
So I had only had my fixie. I had my fixie and my Krampus at the time. So, you know, I wanted to start riding again, but my first ride after that was in late August. I wanted to come back up to Kansas, and I did the Lunar Kanza. It's a fun ride at night, and it's 50 miles. It goes out to they have these phone towers. I forget what it's called out there, and yeah, you just ride out there, drink some beer, and come back, and
Nice.
It's just like a big party in the evening.
You said it was in October?
I think it was August.
August. Okay.
So, I mean, I did not have a good time out there.
Okay, wait. June 1st you wrecked, July, and then August you're already back racing.
Well, it was a ride. It was a fun ride, and yeah, I still had braces on at the time, like because my jaw was wired shut, and I still had those on, but I wanted to ride and show the Emporia community, those friends that I have up there, that hey, like I'm okay, like I'm on the up and up. Like I'll get there, you know. But
I'm sure they were like real supportive of you, so like you wanted to go and maybe show some appreciation.
That's exactly right. Like I showed up, and I ended up riding my Krampus there, and Gabby had to wait on me a lot. Like I got to this one turn, and I was like, I don't know if I can do this, you know. But we got through it and made it back. Had some pulled pork sandwiches and beer, and that made it worth it.
Oh man, the food and beer always make it worth it. What is it about that like it's such a powerful draw? When did you decide you were going to ride Dirty Kanza again? Because I mean, I know that you went back.
I knew that day in the hospital I was coming back.
How?
That
first day, the day you wrecked.
Yeah, I mean, Leland and the Dirty Kanza crew came and saw me in the hospital, and I was like, man, like I have to come back, and you know, like to this day, I still think about, obviously they made a new rule for me specifically, but I mean, it goes across the board that you have to have brakes on your bike. But there hasn't been a fixed gear record since Chad did it. So, I mean, one
You're
day
still out there for that 6-pack.
it's in the, you owe me 6-pack, man. No, it's in the back of my mind, maybe one day, and I might not be going as hard. It might just be like as hard as I need to go to like set a record. But that's years away. It's not really a priority anymore, or I don't know. It's just kind of like I ride my fixie, or I used to ride my fixie around town to commute. Same bike I wrecked on. I rebuilt it, and that was my work commuting bike. Has a brake on it, flat bar, no toe straps.
I want to go see this bike when we're done.
Yeah, it's down in the basement.
Yeah, I need to check it out. What's that bike's name?
It is Shadowfax.
Shadowfax. What is that? What's that from?
Shadowfax is Gandalf's magical steed from Lord of the Rings.
Oh, okay. Yes.
It is the fastest horse in that.
All of Middle Earth?
Yeah. It's supposed to be the fastest horse.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, we just read The Hobbit with my 9-year-old daughter as a family. So.
Yeah, you're a nerd.
Oh, yeah. I am. I mean, I'm definitely a bike nerd, but
no, man.
I love books too.
The bike was white, and I had this decal of a horse, so I put that on there, and then I kind of like turned the horse into. I like painted the rest of the name on there, calligraphy style, Shadowfax.
Awesome.
That was Shadowfax.
I can't wait to check that out.
Yeah, it's a.
So you're sitting in the hospital. You're going back. What was the road to recovery like to get back to Dirty Kanza the next year? And I mean, it couldn't have been like easy walk in the park.
I knew that I wanted to race. I knew that I wanted to. I'd never finished Dirty Kanza. I'd gone twice. Both years I'd broken a chain. One year I ended up in the hospital. So, that was.
You had to get that monkey off your back.
Yeah. I was just like addicted to the idea of finishing that race. It was like compulsive. It was like this thing that took over, and like all I could think about was training and getting back there. And I don't know.
How did Gabby respond to that? Was she real supportive, or was she?
Yeah, she was. She was, I think, excited for me, nervous for me. She was always telling me to be safe.
Yeah.
I'm
sure you're telling yourself to be safe all the time too. I mean,
for the most part. Yeah. I actually, after the wreck, I tried to go out and ride the fixie again. I rode it one time after that on gravel, and I was like, man, it had a brake on it, but I was like, man, like, how did I do this? How did I keep up with everybody on this? Like, how is this even a thing?
Yeah.
It's like, I look back on it, and those 2 land run finishes are something that I'll always have, and it's like, maybe it's prideful, but I know that nobody else will ever do that. And it's something that I know that I can tell my kids and be like, like, this is what I did whenever I was, I don't want you to do this, but like, I don't know, like I like a lot of things, you're like, you can't look bad in front of your family. So it's.
Yeah. I mean, I think I have kids, and whenever I did the 500-mile race, my kids and my family were a big part of the reason why it pulled me through, because what do you want to do? Go home and tell your kids the story about how you quit? You don't want to tell that story. You want to talk about how it was hard, but you figure out a way to get through it. And you know what? You can do the same thing. I mean, that's the story that you want to tell.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know what that is. I don't think it's prideful. I think it's, you want to show that you can do it. And if you can do it, then they can do it, and you can show them how, and they can lean on you.
That's been my whole mantra, man. Like I used to try to be pretty inspirational on the Instagram, but it was mostly because like I wanted to show people that I'm normal, and I'm so fucking normal that I want to show you that you can do this too. Like,
Yeah.
it's not like, I mean, if you want to ride bikes, like, you can, if you work hard enough, you can beat those sponsored people. You know, you can be something more than just Patrick Farnsworth, you know. And I know that you're a great guy just from the few times I've met with you, but, you know, it's like, if you want to, I mean, I don't know how to describe it. The whole Dirty Kanza thing is to find your limit, you know, and for me, like, I had never done that. So, like, I didn't know what my limit was.
Yeah.
And, you know, I just wanted to train really hard and leave everything I had out there. And that's every race that I had done up to that. Like, I would just totally destroy myself out on the race course.
So let's start with Dirty Kanza 2017. What happened, man? I mean, you went in obviously with the axe to grind. Like,
yeah, I have been working really hard. You know, that was my whole goal, was to just finish. You know, I wasn't concerned with other people. I mean, at least I tried not to be. I wrote about in that blog post about this guy that was lined up next to me, and he was wearing like a fucking tri-suit and had like skinny 28s.
oh wow.
And I'm like, man, like, why are you here? Like, you just took somebody's spot that is actually prepared, you know. And I don't know. Then I just kind of,
That fired you up?
well, a little bit. Then I just started thinking, you know, like, I'm not here to, I want to race, you know, like, I want to stand next to these people and like have my own name, but I'm not here to compare myself to these people. So yeah, I don't know. You know, I remember rolling out. I lined up close to the front, not all the way in the front. I lined up where I thought I probably should be. I remember seeing the guy that beat me early on. He was like, "Oh man, like, my buddy Ted King is up there. I got to go say hi to Ted and go like just say hi before the race starts." And we were riding at that point, and Addison took off and hung on to that lead pack, and I never saw him again. Yeah, so I just remember the race. You know, there was a pack of probably 6 or 7 of us single speeders. Addison was off the front. There was another guy, Watts Dixon. He was off the front a little bit as well, but he was behind Addison. And I just remember I just started losing everybody, you know, and it was a really, really fast year. We pulled into that first checkpoint at like 19.6.
Average mile per hour?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. On a fixie or a single speed?
Single speed, yeah. Well, all of us did. So there was like a group of 6 or 7 of us.
That's mind-blowing.
And we were all just chilling. We were like chatting and talking, and we were like doing whips off stuff. I remember this one guy, he just like, he hucked off this like rock in the middle of the road and like did like a little tail whip and stuff. And I was like, man, we're a crew. We were like just hanging out, you know, and
just riding your bike.
Yeah, it was really fun. You know, it's that kind of communal stuff that like makes gravel really special, at least until later on in the day. I don't know, even then it's probably still nice to talk to these guys. But yeah, I started looking around and I'm alone with geared riders, and I pull into the halfway point, and this guy Watts is like, we're 2 and 3 right now. Yeah, he's riding single speed and I'm riding single speed, so we ride side by side and into the checkpoint, and I take care of my stuff, and then I'm like, I just kind of couldn't believe it, you know, like, I was like, holy crap, like, I'm in second? Or like, I mean, I want to take second because I don't want to be third, you know. He says 2 and 3. I'm damn sure coming in second.
I'm 2, you're 3.
Yeah,
yes.
That's right. No, so yeah, after that, I just remember Watts and I stayed together until checkpoint 3, and was riding with former champ Dan Hughes, and I remember rolling up on him. He's like a 4-time Dirty Kanza champion, and I remember riding, like catching him and being like, "Holy shit!" Like, it's Dan Hughes, you know? Like, am I like riding outside of my capability? Like, am I doing something stupid? You know? And yeah, I just remember rolling in, them telling me that I'm still in like second, you know, and I'd lost watts into that last checkpoint. And then I started having flashbacks. Yuri Oswald is like a kind of a big inspiration of mine. Do you know?
I don't know who he is.
So Yuri won in 2015. He won from coming in second. He was in second for the longest time, and then had a comeback from 30 minutes behind the leader, and caught him and ended up sprinting the guy and winning. And so I was like, man, like I could win, you know, like I could come back just like that if I work hard enough in this last 40 miles. Like that could happen, you know, I could be like that. And long story short, that did not happen. But no, I just rode my face off for the last of that, and just remembering like I just kept thinking Watts was going to come up on me, you know, and I would end up like at least third, you know, and still for me, like that was kind of like mind boggling. I had no expectation going into the race other than like, I just want to finish. I want to leave everything that I am out there and just find out who I am.
What happened at mile 66.6 that third year that you tried it, when you were like
I flipped it off, actually. Did you? I do remember that. Yeah, I started riding by it with a big smile. I obviously am freewheeled, so I can brake with my hands. Yeah, big smile. Bailey Newbury was riding with me. He just let me go there and have my own experience. And he knew my story and stuff. And yeah, I remember passing it. I looked over left at that spot, and I was just like.
So at that point, like your third attempt, that was the furthest you'd ever made it?
That's the furthest, yeah.
So like 66.7 miles, it's all new gravel.
That's right. That's, yeah. And
were you like, did that like...
It spurred me, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, it was all new. You know, I didn't really know what to expect. I felt like I put in a lot of prep time for that. I was riding like 20 hours a week. Like it was like a part-time job at that point, you know.
Yeah.
Like it was like this compulsive part of me. Like I just needed to get through it. And I remember, oh man, there are so many highs and lows of the Dirty Kanza. It's like, I don't know, you think that you're through a section, and I kept thinking that we were at the furthest point south because we had this headwind, and then I kept turning right to go south, and I was like, oh shit, like it's never ending, you know. And then we would finally go north to go back to Emporia, and it was like all tailwind, and no, it was a very special day for me.
Yeah, I've seen the pictures of when you finished that year, and it's a powerful picture. What? Uh-oh. What was it like to cross, man? I mean, for real, like,
I lost it.
You cared. I mean, you cared. You know, you put everything to be there to finish. You know.
Yeah, it was everything to me. Like everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Were you proud of yourself?
Yeah, I think so, man. I don't know. Hey, couldn't be, I guess, but I didn't really know what to think. I was just balling. I was balling like miles out of town.
Really?
Yeah. I could see town, you know, and like I wrote about being like, you know, it's over, you know, but it's still not over, you know. Like I could see town, I could hear the crowd. But
How many miles out did you know that you had second place, like in the bag? Do you
I
remember?
didn't.
You never knew.
I didn't know. I kept looking behind me, even under the tunnel. You cross.
So you were crying and looking back.
Basically, yeah. Oh man, I remember making it to campus, and I think that's when I knew. I made it to campus, and there is this woman sitting in her truck with her kids and being like, "You did it! You made it!" And she didn't know my story. She didn't know who I was, but
Yeah.
in that moment, I just lost it.
Wow.
Yeah, just like, I just remember I cried the whole way down, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is crazy. I remember just crossing the line, and, you know, the promoters cried. Like Leland, he's a good friend of mine. You know, he came to the hospital, and I mean, he knows everything that I had been through.
Man, whenever you push yourself to the limit, you said you wanted to find out who you were. I think you probably cried because you found out that you were tough, you know, that you can get smacked in the face at 35 miles an hour by Flint rock, and you can go to the hospital and you can say fuck you to that hill, you know, a year afterwards, and you can cross that finish line. Like, you know, you proved it to yourself that you could do it. It's pretty cool.
Thanks, man.
It's really neat. So what's it like to, I mean, today's the anniversary, man, and you're obviously emotional, and I didn't mean to like put you on the spot necessarily, but today's the perfect day to like talk about, you know, this experience that you've had, this journey that you've been on.
Sure.
So today or this year, you decided to take a step back.
Yeah. You know, Gabby and I really wanted to be there today. We just financially couldn't make it over there. You know, we had just moved here to Arkansas, and I don't know, we're getting married this year. I started a business. Just with all of that, I didn't have time to train. And, you know, honestly, I don't know if I really had the heart to train this year. I kind of did what I set out to do.
Yeah, you did.
So I don't know. I raced Dirty Kanza last year, and it just felt different, you know. Like I made it to 100 miles, and, you know, maybe I could have gotten through my knee pain, but it just wasn't as important to me last year.
Yeah.
And so, like, I don't know.
That's
you know,
okay, man.
You can't always have that heart. You can't always like push, you know. Even I had ridden a lot last year, you know. I thought that I was in as much shape as I was in 2017, but I don't know, you know. I just
Your
kind of
headspace wasn't right, or
yeah,
you weren't all the way in it.
I was just kind of, I love gravel, you know. I love the people, but as far as like training, you know, and spending 20 hours on the bike and trying to work a job and pay your bills and not being like a real pro, it's hard.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
yeah, I just kind of got burnt a little bit, you know. But today, just like watching everything, I was like, man, I have major FOMO. Like, I really want to at least be there to support the event, or like I like wanted to like lube a chain like so bad, you know, and just say hi to people, or
Yeah.
I don't know. I love Emporia. I love the people. They're
You
so
know,
nice.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with that because it's not going anywhere. You can go back next year.
Right,
You know,
right.
like if it takes a year off and you're like, it gives you that perspective of like, okay, well, now you know what it's like to sit on the sidelines and watch it, you know, and so now you'll have that, you know, and so, you know, I think, you know, life goes like this, you know, it's ups and downs.
That's
and
right.
you take it as it comes. And
You can't race that hard every year.
dude, you can't, it's so hard. I wonder how many people like have really gutted themselves out to that extent, you know, like push themselves to the absolute limit, or that limit right there. Because one thing I've learned is like your limit is always it's a moving target,
Sure.
right? Like you're like, okay, well, that was my limit last year, but now I have a new limit and it's just going to keep growing. But I mean, that's how you get better, is you push those limits, you find out who you are and how far you can go. So, your story isn't over, man. You're still a young guy.
Man, I've talked with Gabby, and I think my real goal is, by the time I'm 40, is to have it. And I don't know what the future holds, but I would really like to hold a top 10 spot at the Dirty Kanza. That is my end goal. I used to say that I wanted to win it, and that is, with all the pros that are showing up it's growing every year. I would like to say that I know that I will do it because I believe in myself.
Man, that's awesome. I believe you will. No doubt. I mean, you've proved to yourself that dude,
it just all needs to come together,
You started writing in 2013. You went through all that adversity, and then in 2017 you came back and got second place. What else do you need to prove to yourself? You know that you can.
Lots.
What?
That's life, man. You gotta grow.
You gotta keep proving it, maybe. But you've already shown that you can. So now it's just a matter of keep proving it, that you can continue to keep doing it.
Sure.
Yeah. Well, let's switch gears a little bit and talk about Maker and Racer. Do you think we did a good job with the Choco Bandit?
Yeah, thanks, man. Yeah, sorry, I got a little teary.
No, I mean, dude, it's an emotional thing, and I didn't mean to put you on the spot by talking to you today, but what better day to talk to you? I just happened to be in town, and today's the anniversary of two of the biggest life events that's probably ever happened to you. So.
I also I asked Gabby to marry me last year at Dirty Kanza too.
You did?
Yeah.
Oh, well, shit.
Crazy.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Tell that story. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Gabby was racing the Dirty Kanza XL, extra large, I guess. And she was one of the last 3 riders in. So it took her 36 hours. We were the last people there waiting for her to come in. Did it on a single speed. So the next day I had this whole thing planned out with Christine Leland. I have been talking to them since December. I was like, okay, I'm going to ask Gabby to marry me, but I don't really know when. And then I kind of had this idea of being people have asked their others to marry them on the finish line. But you know what people can't copy is asking them at the award ceremony.
Yeah,
right. So we opened up the award ceremony I had this slideshow of "Will you marry me?" I took pictures of all of my friends holding up each sign. It said Will was the district community. You was Gabby's parents. Because they're kind of you. They are her, and Mary was. I had my my good friend and his wife and their daughter hold Mary, because they're, in my mind, they're the ideal marriage to me. I took a picture or had Gabby's parents take a picture of me at the finish line of Dirty Kanza last year, of me holding up the me sign, and then they took those 4 pictures and played them at the beginning of the ceremony. And Gabby, we struggled to get her ready for the ceremony. I was like, okay, we have to be there. We have to go,
I want to go.
Yeah. Oh man. She had slept 5 hours. Can you blame her?
No, I can't at all.
Yeah. So we woke her up, left where we were, and got her to the award ceremony. And then she was kind of zoned out, and we got there early so we could sit up front, so I could get handed the microphone, and then, Leland handed me the microphone, and I had this whole speech that I wanted to say to her, that I had been going over for weeks and hours up leading to that. And then Rebecca Rush was like, just ask her. I was I just lost everything. I lost everything that I wanted to say. And I got the gist of it out, and yeah, Gabby, she said yes. And, you know,
That's so cool.
Yeah, probably the most significant life things that have happened to me at DK.
Wow.
It's a very special place for me.
I didn't know about the marriage, man. That's pretty, or the proposal. You know, whenever you propose, it's like you just black out anyway.
Yeah, in front of thousands of people. I was like, holy crap. I said, ladies and gentlemen, there's someone I'd like you to meet. You know, this is
My future wife.
Yeah, this is the love of my life, Gabby Shelton, you know, and she had no idea, and she started freaking out, you know, and then I asked her and then removed us from everything. I just kind of like took her and ran outside real quick, and just so we could like actually talk about it and be together for a second.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, did she say yes in front of everybody?
She did.
Okay, good.
Yep.
And then you like,
and I didn't drop the ring.
and then you like took her outside, just be like, okay, we're like really getting married, right? You weren't just saying that because we were in front of a bunch of people.
That's right.
Oh, that's funny. That's a great story, though. I mean, like truly, that's a great story. So, what are you doing now? You took a year off and you started Maker and Racer.
Yep.
What the hell, dude? How do you go from a non-professional, awesome bike racer to woodworking?
Yes. It was kind of a giant leap. I worked for a company out of Stillwater called JB Camera Designs. We used CNC machines to make grips, wooden camera grips, for micro four thirds cameras and some DSLR cameras, mostly Fuji and Sony. I had always kind of been in love with just making stuff. Whenever I had a bunch of college roommates, you know, I spruced up our kitchen by making like a fucking wine rack, or like one time I made this like pot holder so it held up all of our pots because we didn't have a ton of cabinet space. So I just made this thing and hung it up, and I made a coffee table for us for that house. It was like a leaf style coffee table.
Did you have any background in woodworking, or you just like kind of that's where you like developed somewhat of a passion or an interest in it?
Yeah, I built it up while I was at JB. I started buying tools, and I mean, just being around it all the time. Like, I mean, we didn't have a table saw or anything like that up there in the shop, but we had a planer, and I was able to design stuff with Brady and just, I mean, come up with new ideas. And, you know, working with him, coming up with ideas for that business gave me ideas for stuff that I wanted to do outside of that. And, you know, really it started out of a way for me to just have more income. And it was kind of a side gig at first. And it was like, you know, like I mean, I love working for Brady, but I really just wanted something for myself, you know, like he was really good to us, and Gabby worked for him as well down in Stillwater Summit Co. But, you know, I needed to build something of my own and make something that was mine. And, so I started just buying tools, and I made a few little things here and there, like cutting boards and stuff like that. And then I started making like big furniture items, like made some coffee tables. I made headboards. I built a bed frame, and yeah, it just kind of grew from there. You know, I've done some barn doors recently.
Dude, those barn doors turned out really pretty sweet.
Yeah, it was.
That was one thing I love about your company, or whatever you want to call it. Like, it's just you, let's be honest. But that's what makes it cool. But like, I love following your Instagram because like, I think that project didn't go exactly the way you wanted it to go. But
it hardly ever does.
Yeah. But I mean, you'd like take it along. You're like, all right, well, that didn't exactly work the way I wanted to, so I'm going to try this, and like, fingers crossed it works. And
yeah, I mean, it's part of like the handcrafted like furniture thing, you know. It's like, it's not made by a machine. I mean, I can't do things perfectly. I just I can't,
Right.
you know, and
you're gonna mix the mixture just a little bit different each time. The wood's gonna be a little bit different each time.
That's
like,
right.
It's never like a laser whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just like it's a person that's crafting this. Well, that's what I like about it. It's like you're honest about the process, and like if something fucks up,
I
you're
make
like,
mistakes, man.
Yeah.
I mean, it's apparent in some of the work, you know, but I also make a point to fix it. And I mean, it's like, it is as good I'm really happy with those barn doors. I'm really happy with, everything that I make. I wouldn't let it out of my shop if I wasn't happy with it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, to me, even if it gets messed up while I'm in the process of making it, that process isn't over. And I mean, it's like I will work on the smallest details until I'm okay with them. And that's just part of my like OCD tendency, man. It's like I will make it okay.
I believe you. What's your bestseller?
Oh man, lately it has been the magnetic poster hanger. Believe it or not, yeah, it's I've sold.
I believe it. Yeah,
I've sold 3 in the past week.
Where do you want the company to go? Like, what's your goal with it?
You know, I really, really love my Sugar Creek table.
She's a beaut.
It is a live edge glass river table.
Yeah.
So river table meaning it kind of emulates a river. It's got like a big glass piece that flows along the live edge characteristics of that wood.
Yeah. I mean, talk about, because the table is a Sugar Creek table, which is a river.
Local river, yeah.
Right out, very close to where we are right now. And you're only sourcing products from
Arkansas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe you talk about that, because I think that's important. I mean, that's part of your brand.
Yeah, I found these guys that they locally mill and kiln dry their wood, which means they cut down trees that are from Arkansas. They cut them into slabs, and then they dry them there in their warehouse, which is maybe 4 times the size of this shop. So it's not very big at all. It's probably, it's a big metal warehouse that a kiln is basically, their kilns are like a shipping container that just dries out the wood. So, they have 2 of those in there, and they're probably like a half size shipping container, just full of slabs of wood. The glass is hand cut. I'm still learning how to do that. I cut part of the one for that table, and the rest of it I let the pros do. Just, they're
you don't
pros.
want to mess up that piece of glass.
Right, that's hella expensive. So, I'm still learning a lot of the craft. But yeah, I think
that's a neat piece, though, man. It really is.
That's where I'd like to go. I mean, tables and doors, I think margins are a little bit better. I think I would be more, not that I'm not proud of smaller pieces, but I really like a big show conversation piece.
Hey, Gabby.
Hey.
What's going on?
Nothing. We're all going to bed.
Oh, really? What time is it?
It's like 11.
Oh, that's lame.
Ooh, we're almost done.
Okay.
We're wrapping up. Yeah, so you're talking about going towards the table.
Yeah, I really like the idea and how those river tables look.
Dude, they're freaking awesome. That's how they look. Yeah, so if someone I follow you on Maker Racer or on Instagram at Maker Racer, which is great. I recommend, we're talking about this Sugar Creek table. You should definitely go and check it out, because you have tons of pictures on it, and it's a work of art.
Thanks, man.
It's freaking
It was
beautiful.
a lot of work, but it was.
It paid
it's
off.
really worth seeing the end result. Yeah.
So if people want to catch up with your company that you're doing now, where's the best place for them to go?
You can go to makerandracer.com. I have my own website. You can order stuff straight through there. Instagram is probably the best place to keep up with every day-to-day things. I will post most builds, unless like the Sugar Creek table, for business reasons, like I have to keep some of that a secret as far as the process, but most of what I post, I will post the process, and like you'll see everything from start to finish, like me buying the piece of wood to what it eventually turns into. And I think that is something that my clients really like to see, is like, it's like, oh wow, this guy bought this piece of wood and this is what he turned it into. Like, yeah. So.
That's why I love your Instagram. That's exactly why. I mean, for people listening, like you and I met through Instagram. Like I followed you, you followed me. We started chatting a little bit. You're in Bella Vista. I'm, and we just kind of, but that's how I found you, is just through following you on Instagram. I'm like, man, I was like fascinated by just watching the process. I love that you take people through like from start to finish, but also like the fuck ups, nobody, I don't know, man. In this day and age, it's like everybody just gives you like something polished and perfect.
No, man.
And that's not life, man. None of us are.
I just want to be real. I want to be real with everybody. And that's me as a person, is I don't really care about the fake stuff. Like if you're having a conversation with me, then I want to talk to you about what is real and what, like who you are as a person. And, like I don't know, like obviously my work tells that same story, like it's not perfect. I mean, I haven't made a perfect piece ever.
That's the handcrafted part of it. I mean, it should never, it's hard to define perfect whenever it's a handcrafted piece of whatever it is you're making, because part of handcrafted is that there are going to be imperfections. If you want it perfect, you'd get a computer to do it for you, I guess.
Right.
I don't know. But I mean, I genuinely am a fan of yours, both on the bicycle and off of it. And I'm really glad I like you too. I'm glad we got a chance to talk today, man. Whenever I realized that I'd be here on June 1st, and knowing your history with this date, I definitely wanted to like talk to you today if I could. So I appreciate you sharing your story, man.
Yeah, thanks for coming over.
It's an important one. I mean, if you look at it from you started riding in 2013 to 4 years later, you got second place in Dirty Kanza after maybe dying, maybe not dying. But that's beyond impressive. And so, yeah, I appreciate you sharing your story, because I think people need to hear that. I think people need to hear that life isn't always going to be easy, but if you work your ass off, you can accomplish something.
Yeah, I mean, you're always going to have adversity, man. And I mean, I can give you tons of sob stories about that, but you just have to pick yourself up, and I don't know. I mean, you have all of these people that make you who you are, and it's important to know that you don't have to go through that stuff alone.
Yeah.
And having Gabby there, having all of these other people there behind me it's a really big deal. Like I don't know. It just, yeah.
Hey, let's leave it there, man. I'm looking forward to see what you do in the future, whether it's with your business or on the bike. You're not done. You got a lot to do.
Well, thanks for having me, man.
Let's drink a whiskey.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Thank y'all so much for tuning in. And thank you to Thomas. I mean, he poured out his heart on this episode, and it was pretty powerful. You can really hear how important that was to him. And that importance comes from how much effort and time and how hard he worked and how he gutted himself to make that happen and to come back and to place second. It's hard to put that into words, but I hope his emotions came through, because yeah, sometimes I think they speak louder than our words. And I think it tells a lot about the kind of person that he is. And Thomas is just a guy who picked up a bike in 2014, built it, and dedicated himself to being as good as he could be. Bravo to him, man. So thanks again, Thomas. Thanks for coming on the show. All right, and one more time, if you like this kind of content, you want to support the show so I can keep it going, head over to Patreon. You can find me there at Bikes or Death. If you want to keep up with the show, you can find me on Facebook and Instagram at Bikes or Death. If you have any questions, comments, suggestions for the show, I'm always open to that. I don't think that I have a monopoly on good ideas. I think that good ideas can come from anyone, anywhere, anytime. So if you want to drop me a line, I'm always open. You can reach me on, like I said, Facebook, Instagram, or you can email me. It's bikes@bikesorddeath.com. All right. Y'all know what to do. Go ride your damn bike.